Now let's take a look at this piping in a 3D view. So we'll select all of our pipe, use this section box command, zoom in on our pipe, hit escape, use the thin lines command, and as you can see, the fittings that Revit is using out of the box are not really code compliant for horizontal drainage piping. So how do we get fittings that are code compliant? Well, let's load some in. So we go to Insert, Load Family. Now go to your DWV folder, select Combination Y. We'll load in this P-trap by hitting Control, and we'll also use this Bend Long Sweep. Hit Open. Now I'm going to select a piece of pipe, go to Edit Type. So we'll go to our routing preferences, select Edit. For elbow, let's add a fitting. Let's add our long sweep. For junction, let's add a fitting. Let's add our Y combination. Hit OK. Hit OK. Now let's also change the size of this pipe that goes to our drain. So we'll tab, select, and we'll change this to 2 inches. Now we'll select our fitting. We'll change this to a combo Y. We'll do the same thing for this elbow. Change it to a long sweep. And we'll change the size of piping to this lavatory. We'll tab, change it to 1.5 inches. Select our fitting, change it to combo Y. And now we have the correct pipe sizes. Let's select our pipe right here. Hold the Shift key and we'll orbit around. Let's drop this pipe a little lower. Let's go to 18 inches. And let's create a P-trap. So what we do for P-traps is we'll go to our elbows, select it, hit the drop down, we'll select P-trap. As you can see, the P-trap got drawn incorrectly, so let's just select it, delete it, use the trim command, and we'll select this piece of pipe first, trim it up to this piece, hit escape, select our elbow, select P-trap, and when you do that, it will draw the elbow correctly. So now that we have our P-trap on our lavatory, zoom out a little bit, let's add a P-trap to this floor drain. So we'll do the same thing, we'll select it, select the P-trap, and again, Revit doesn't like this orientation, so we have to trim from this piece of pipe to this piece of pipe. Once we do that, we select the fitting again and change it to a P-trap. So the first tip I'm going to show you guys is when you're working in a 3D view and you want to drag this pipe down, you can do it, but you can also hold Shift, and that way it will constrain it to going straight up vertically. So I can put it to about right here. Don't worry guys, I know this isn't code compliant. I have not created any vents for this system. So like I said in the beginning of the video, if I hit this plus, I can create a T here, and now I can start to draw my vent piping, but I'm going to do that in the next video. The second tip I have for you guys is when you select when I go to the drop down right here, I can hit this constrain to routing preferences, and it will only show me my fittings that I have set in my routing preferences, which can be very helpful when you work at a big company if you want to make sure you're constraining that. The next tip I have for you guys is if you want to make sure you're always drawing at the correct angles, if you go to Manage, MEP Settings, Mechanical Settings, and go down to Pipe Settings Angles, I can set my angles to only be at 90 or 45, and that way I don't accidentally draw different angles. So now let's open up a floor plan. Let's click on this pipe and say Create Similar, and now when I start to draw a piece of pipe and I'm at 30 degrees, Revit will automatically make that angle 45 so I don't accidentally draw the wrong angle. We'll hit escape. The next thing I want to show you guys is, I'm sure you guys have seen this before, but when I select my elbow, out of the box, Revit makes this elbow a multi-port family. So if I go to Edit Family, what I need to do is I need to click this button right here, the Family Category and Parameters, and I need to make sure that I change the part type from multi-port, which out of the box Revit will display it as this. I need to change that to an elbow. Hit OK. And then load it back into my project, overwrite the existing, and now my P-traps will function as elbows. So when I go to the routing preferences, they will now show up under elbow, and they'll be able to be changed and used easily in my project. The next tip I have for you guys is, when we're working in a floor plan and we want to display piping that is under the floor in a different line style, we can actually control what the line style is for any piping that's below the floor. Let me show you what that means. If I go to Manage, Additional Settings, Line Styles, click on this plus, and this Beyond Line Type, I'm going to change to 4, and instead of solid, I'm going to make it a dash pattern. Hit OK. Now what I have to do is change my view range so it displays it correctly. So if my bottom is now my associated level, and my view depth is unlimited, if I hit OK, anything below the floor will display as dashed. So when I create a new piece of pipe, now when I draw the pipe above the floor at 2 feet, hit escape, it will display as a solid line. Turn off thick lines, and you can see Revit is displaying anything above the floor as a solid line, anything below the floor as a dash. Now you can see my fittings aren't displaying correctly down here, so I'm going to select them holding the Control key. Once I have them all selected, I can click this Use Annotation Scale, and now they display correctly. And essentially what that does is it displays them as they would be in the real world, and this is the actual length of that fitting, which can be very helpful when space planning and making sure your piping will fit where you have it. Now the last tip I'll give you guys is, if you have this situation right here where the piping thickness is a little thicker than your annotation symbol or this drop symbol, what we need to do is change the thickness of these drop symbols. So if we go to Manage, Object Styles, scroll down to Pipe, hit this plus, and we can change our center line thickness to 5, our drop thickness to 5, and our rise thickness to 5. Hit OK, and that will change the thickness of our symbols for our pipes. And let's zoom out and see what our piping looks like right now. Everything looks good. Let's take a look at it in the 3D view. Zoom out. And as you can see, everything looks pretty good. We'll turn our thin lines on. And definitely check out the next video where I go over how to draw vent piping for this system. I do think it's very important that you always are utilizing a 3D view so you make sure your piping is correct and looks like they would install it in the field. Thanks for checking this video out, and I hope you guys liked the video. I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing and liking this video, as I'm going to make more content every day.